If I didn't know anything about Brexit and I'd lived in a cave for the last 2-3 years...
You'd know more than most people.
I hate that we've spent so much money on it. I hate that it's still going through.
It's one of the dumbest ideas I've heard in years.
Theresa May's Brexit deal has been rejected by 230 votes. What do you think? What is going to happen now?
I'm glad you used the word shit show because that's the right word.
And where do you think he is now? So we're talking about David Cameron.
Definitely a deal is better than no deal.
Do you know of any removal companies that could help me move back to Latvia?
The next step for Theresa May, she just needs to go to a spa. The woman works crazy hard.
So sick of talking about Brexit.
Okay, right. So I am here on Carnaby Street with...
Alan Leshner. I'm a retired scientist. I used to be the head of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, the publisher of the journal Science, and here I am in London.
Yes. Welcome to London.
Thank you very much.
So, as you are from the States, you must have heard about this mystical thing called the Brexit. Do you know what it is?
I do indeed. It's one of the dumbest ideas I've heard in years. I can't understand why people want to leave the European Union when it's been actually working out pretty well for Britain.
My name's Felicia. I'm from Norway. I'm a creative. I think it's a really complicated thing, and personally so sick of talking about Brexit. I think it's a big mistake making people leave, because a lot of people are hardworking that you're trying to get rid of, and it's just a waste of efforts, in my opinion.
Nick, I'm a film producer.
If I didn't know anything about Brexit and I'd lived in a cave for the last 2-3 years...
You'd know more than most people.
Probably, yes. But would you be able to tell me in about a sentence or two what this whole fuss is about?
It's just about a withdrawal from effectively a treaty organisation that was set up to establish peace and community to prevent a further world war. So naturally, it seemed like a good idea to leave.
I'm Ben. I'm from up the north of England, but I live in London now. I'm a web designer. I've just come from a meeting actually with a client.
What do you think about Brexit? Do you support or you do not support?
No, I absolutely don't support. Most of my family are pro-Brexit, being from the north, but no, I hate it.
Why?
I hate that we've spent so much money on it. I hate that it's still going through. I hate that there seems to be no plan for it. I think the whole thing's ridiculous.
John Peppiat. I work for an advertising agency literally here. There's about 450 of us. It's shambles, I think. I know what it is. It's us leaving the European Union, and there was the big vote last night. And it's, not going very well, I think it's fair to say.
My name's Lee, and I'm from the Midlands, Derbyshire. I'm a student at the moment.
So what do you think about Brexit?
I originally voted to stay in Europe. I think economically it's the thing to do. I think there are a few problems with the Parliament and the democracy values of that institution. And I think there's some issues with sort of homogenising the European countries when they have very different cultures and very different goals. So I think there's problems there, but definitely economically it's more viable to be in this single market and have these advantages of that single market, sort of what was originally joined in the 70s.
Max, and I'm from London. I work with electric vehicles, designing and manufacturing them. I think just people have no idea what it's about, whether we're in a market or out of a market, and how those things affect us. It's a bit like when John Major became Prime Minister. I woke up the next day and nothing had changed. I don't think much changes in general, and I don't think Brexit will change much.
Do you think if the vote had never reached a referendum, if David Cameron hadn't initiated one, do you think that people would still be talking about it and trying to force it?
Good question. What do I think? I think people still will have been irritated with the bureaucracy and everything, but not to the extent that it's divided the country as it is at the moment.
So yesterday was this meaningful vote, and Theresa May's Brexit deal has been rejected by 230 votes. What do you think? What are the next steps? What is going to happen now?
I think this is what I'm struggling on at the moment, because
only you.
Yes, a lot of people. I think it's strange that in protesting this result, this offer that Theresa May has got, I think there needs to be an alternative put forward, because there's the European negotiations. You have to negotiate with Europe. So I think you can disagree with Theresa May's deal, but will they be able to get any better, if any deal at all? So I think that's a problem, especially if you're disagreeing with this deal. If it's not the best one, then yes, reject it and then try harder to get a better deal. But if it really is, if Europe are true in their word of saying, yes, we're not moving on this, then definitely a deal is better than no deal, I think, in that sense.
Hopefully they'll work out some kind of an agreement, or they'll see the light and have another referendum and decide, after all, maybe they should stay.
Yeah, okay. I'm hoping there'll be a second referendum. I think more likely is we'll have another general election, and then there'll be a load of more uncertainty. I think if it went to another referendum, I would hope that we would end up being in, but I don't know what that would mean for the rest of the country, because it's a little bit like, if you flip a coin and it comes up heads, and then you go, oh well, best of 3, oh well, best of 5. It's a little bit unfair, isn't it? So for democracy, I don't know what that means. I don't know. I think to me, we've learned a lesson now, and we're not going in the right direction. So perhaps we should correct course a little bit and steer the ship a little bit in a different direction, having learned some lessons.
I think they might do another vote. It's a lot of effort, but then again, I think after everything that we've been through since that decision was made has just been chaotic, and I think maybe second time around people will vote differently.
The next step for Theresa May, she just needs to go to a spa. She needs to relax. She needs to put her feet up. The woman works crazy hard, and to put the nation's future on one woman's shoulders doesn't make sense at all. Could you imagine, like, oh, everyone is waiting for Theresa May to make decisions? And I think that's a complete illusion. I don't think it works like that. I think, there are people in power who have specialized jobs, and they're all trying to do their jobs the best. And if they could, integrate with specialized people in business who know about trade and etc. And I'm sure that does happen, but it just feels like too much conflict and too much people trying to work for their own interests rather than everyone's collective interests.
My name is Karen, I'm from Norway. I'm a student right now, studying English. Well, I read that she might have to leave her office because of this vote, but I don't think she will do that, actually. I think she's gonna stay, but they have to negotiate a good deal for the leaving of the EU. It would be bad with a hard Brexit where they just leave off with no deals, so they should negotiate a new deal, but how they will do that, I'm not sure.
I'm Chris and I live here. I'm from the Netherlands. I was born in Holland. I am a musician. I have my other job, which I manage people, which is cool. I work for Phoenix Models. It would be crazy to have a non-confidence vote right now and actually have her remove her position, because everything would go crazy. So we should stick now and just try to get this deal together, or check if we should actually change the deal entirely.
Would you attribute the whole mess or the whole shit show that is Brexit, would you attribute that to a certain person that you could blame?
I don't think there's one person. I'm glad you used the word shit show, because that's the right word. No, I think David Cameron was under pressure from UKIP to do the referendum. I don't think he believed in his wildest nightmares that people would vote to leave. So if he hadn't caved into that, there wouldn't have been a referendum, and then it wouldn't have happened. So it started with him, but then there are lots of other people who I blame equally for the mess we're in now.
Ravi from Stewart's London. I'm the CEO at stewartslondon.com. A great question, that. I can only put one man in my head right now, is the person who called the referendum in the first place and happened to go walkabout when the shit hit the fan, really. So,
and where do you think he is now? So we're talking about David Cameron.
We are indeed.
Yes.
As far as last time I saw him in the news, he was partying in some festivals, but I don't know where he is now. I haven't kept up to date with him. I don't follow him on Instagram or Twitter or anything like that.
I'm not into blame. I don't know who's to blame. Anybody who disregarded or ignored a segment of the population, and that's what got them so upset, they're to blame.
I think it's wrong to try and attribute blame to anyone. I think we've got to understand that politicians are human and therefore more than capable of mistakes. Their mistakes carry weight more than other people's in some cases. But yeah, I just think what needs to happen is further discussion, more nuanced discussion, more balanced discussion, a greater accountability about that process. And to be honest, there needs to be a review of the way that things are voted for. If you have a 52-48 swing, it's not enough. It needs to maybe be somewhere where you can at least see something's right, because at the end of the day, if you want to talk about what the people voted for, while there were amongst that 52% people voting for a hard Brexit, the percentages would assume that you want a soft Brexit as compromise. So yeah.
There's one surprising fact that yesterday after this vote the pound gained the value. What do you think what's going to happen with the UK's economy in the near future?
I don't know. I'm not the right guy to ask about that. I guess it's probably going to tank if we leave, if we go crashing out of Europe, which, you know, would probably be deserving of, given that we're making such a foolish act of self-harm.
I think there'll be problems. Obviously the markets will react, and depending on how many trade deals we can get in the future and things like that, because there's been a lot of promise of trade deals with other countries and the ability to do that, and I think how they come into fruition and how we can, yeah, if they succeed, then there's potential for that. I think the financial markets, obviously big banks are having contingency plans on how to deal with their lack of access to financial markets in the EU, sort of post no deal Brexit. So like I know some firms are trying to get licenses in places like Amsterdam so they can trade still in the European market, and that, I think that causes a problem for our economy if they're having to go elsewhere to register headquarters and things like this. So
I'm not an economist. I don't really understand about economic markets too much. I understand about leverage, I understand about value of product and service, and that's as far as my knowledge goes in that sphere. But I guess currency, the pound increased in value, did it?
But yesterday gained. After the vote.
After the vote. I mean, everything is in fluctuation, isn't it? You know, so the dollar, the pound, the yen, every currency is going up and down depending on what position the country is in power and how much that what that value can get you. So I mean, I don't know how much it's, you know, creating collective well-being, and whether those things do create well-being. I think that's more important rather than everyone focusing on whether the pound goes up or down. I think there are more important issues at hand, which Brexit is kind of like a diversion of that.
I mean, I think it would be better for the UK's economy to stay in the EU because of the trade deals and stuff that's going to be different right now. But I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Yeah.
And an interesting question: do you know of any removal companies that could help me move back to Latvia? Because I'm from there, so I might have to go home in 2 months.
Well, we've got lots and lots of people from the European Union up in the office now who are worrying about a similar situation, and there are a few I could recommend. Yeah, if you need one.
Thank you.
Get a cheap one.
Yeah. And what do you think is going to happen to people like me? So I'm originally from Latvia. Do you think I'm going to have to go home in about 2 months?
I don't think so. I think, I just think there's way too much bureaucracy to have to tie all of that up, that anything's going to happen instantly. Again, if it had gone to plan with May's thing, there was an inevitable transition period. I hope you don't have to go home. And yeah. I don't know, just build bridges, not walls, basically.
I haven't been reading up on the logistics of this side of things, but as far as I know, it depends on how long you've already been here and whether you are eligible to stay now or not. I wouldn't know the answer to that, but I hope that's not the case. I think we live in a world where nobody should really be told to do anything, or everyone should have the right to remain in any part of the world as and when they want. That's what democracy is. So if that starts to happen, then really it's we're in a world that's really not so great.